Welcome back, everyone, to Seekers of Sarmanath. We have come back from our break, and the ritual of the druids is about to begin. There are a number of candidates kind of lined up amongst the in front of the fountain and the coals and the altar. The number of robed druids are all now in their full regalia with their colored robes and their hoods and veils intact. The the ritual begins as the sun begins to set over the top of the mountain, and these streaks of violets and pinks and oranges kind of go through the air. The druids are kind of gathered in clusters. All of them have multicolored and hued robes, but there is a kind of color scheme to them in their groupings. You see primary whites and ocean blue, sand-colored, some browns, greens, yellows, slates, just kind of grouped in together. And they all begin a low chant. In the druidic tongue that slowly rises in volume as more and more voices join the chant in canon. Three archdruids begin to step in front of the altar as the canon reaches its full-throated volume. They are all three veiled and wearing circlets of laurels, differentiating them from the rest. Their robes are adorned with 3 gold bars of light across. The one with the silver veil in the middle is the first to step forward, and over the chanting calls out, "Who seeks entry to our sacred clan?" And he begins to kind of walk across the line of candidates, asking each in turn, as he eventually comes to the end of the line and he finds Rose, and again repeats his question to you: "Who seeks entry to our clan?"
And I guess Rose says her name, but she says it in Spriggan. So this will probably be the first time you actually hear her name when she says it, and it's still a very long name. But it is in Spriggan language. Yeah.
The Archdruid nods, remaining in Druidic, asks, "Are you willing to undergo the initiation of the spirits?"
And she pauses for a moment, but she says, "Yes, I am ready."
The Archdruid holds out his hand to you at the end of the line, seems to have chosen you to be first to undergo.
I was like, oh no. Yeah.
He holds his hand out as if waiting for you to take it.
Mm-hmm. I pull my long sleeves up, and I guess I put my hand with that as the seeker's mark into his hand.
Mm. He takes your hand and begins to lead you up to the spring. And he kind of bids you step inside. And as he does, he intones, "You must return to your roots to grow. Wash away the experiences that form you and open your roots once more to the world." And with that, the 3 archdruids step forward, each with wooden chalices engraved with different sigils of the druidic clan. And they each take a large scoop of the spring water and begin to pour it over your head. And they begin ritualistically washing away your experiences of the world. After you are soaked and drenched, a candidate comes forward, or not a candidate, I'm sorry, one of the druids comes forward with a candidate's robe. It is pure white and unadorned, and they offer it to you in exchange for your now watered and soaked clothes that you came with.
I guess I will take these, slowly take off the clothes, and use once again just Rose and her wooden, and her wooden skin, her brown and green skin that is covered in like moss patches and in veins and in little twigs, and she puts on the white robe.
The archdruids once again begin chanting along with the rest, and you are led by the next archdruid, leaving the one with the silver veil at the spring, and you are led up to the altar, where you stop and wait, and a representative of all 8 of these circles come up to place an effigy upon the altar. You see the you see the Arctic Whites come up and set down an effigy, made to appear as if it was a snowflake wrapped around the like white coral that they crafted it from. The coastal ocean blue druids come to give a wave-like effigy. The sand-colored druids come up, the brown, the greens. Each of them place an effigy showing the kind of sigil of their circles: Arctic, ocean, forest, grassland, swamp, mountain, and I believe one more, desert. These effigies are all placed in front of you, like kind of reverently, and the druid intones as they are all set forth and return to their circles and their chanting, that you must choose the path that your heart walks, and let the effigy chosen guide your growth. And he kind of steps back and allows you to examine the effigies placed upon the altar.
Right. Do they symbolize different things, or are they just, in different colors?
Yes, they each symbolize kind of the circle that is chosen, right? The Arctic circle is symbolic of the cold and the ideas of harshness of winter, right? The mountains, this strong kind of effigy, seemingly of carved stone that looks proud and meant to stand against the erosion and the other parts of nature. It's a strength kind of based thing.
They do make the best fry sauce too.
The grassland is this kind of woven bowl of grasses that are, kind of encompassing and welcoming. Each effigy kind of representing the core philosophy of the aspect of nature of the circles.
Mm-hmm. Well, Rose has been really quiet the past few days because this is a big moment for her in her druidic life, I guess. And I think since she's a Spriggan and Spriggans do have druids, it's not uncommon for them. I think she has heard, about the choosing of the effigy before. Now, the thing is that in her, village, you are a forest druid. That's what you are. There's no discussion about it. This is what has happened all the years before. So she leans forward and she wraps her thin hands around the forest effigy, and for a little moment she just closes her eyes and remembers her village and her people and the forest that she misses on some days really, really terribly. It was very different from her travels that she is now, and she does wonder if her family sometimes thinks of her, even though she's left her people behind and has taken a very different path of the Spriggans she grew up with. And it makes her a little bit sad, I guess. But when she has that effigy in her hands, she also remembers how she left the forest and what it felt like when she was in that sea of grass for the first time, and when she extended her hands and touched those incredibly long, grass arms. It was like a proper sea. And when she saw those giant bisons, and she remembers Guarmac, who was riding on one of these things, and just this feeling of fascination and the realization that nature is so much more than just forest, that there's so much more out there. And the feeling of sadness, I guess, vanishes a little bit, and she's overcome by a lot of joy because she knows that she can choose her own path, and her roots are always going to be a part of her. It will never change, and in all her decisions going forward, it will always play a role. But she can be the druid she wants to be, right? So she lets go of the forest effigy and just really quickly picks up that woven ball that is like symbolizing the grasslands, right? And it feels so light in her hand as she picks it up. It's just like, and she smiles like over her entire face because, well, in that very moment, she figured it out. She has been agonizing about it for the past few days, but suddenly she was like, yes, this is it. This feels right. So, yeah.
And with that, the chanting from the other circles ceases. But those wrapped in the greens of the grassland continue their chant as it changes in timbre, and the words that you can tell change as they are now a song instead of general welcoming those specifically calling upon the nature of the grassland and welcoming Rose to the fold, essentially. The Archdruid kind of clasps you on the shoulder before walking away and allowing the final Archdruid, veiled in gold, to come up and once again offers you their hand, and once taken, leads you to the bed of charcoal.
Oh dear!
It's not
this
like
is
a live.
difficult part.
It's not like a live fire, right? Where it's like it's charcoal that's like smoldering and hot enough to like make the incense burn, but not enough that it's really an open flame. And on this bed, he pulls out one of the larger sticks of incense, and you see this one wrapped in the same grass that is woven on this bowl, and lays it upon the bed of charcoals. As the grass begins to burn away, the incense lays itself on the charcoals and begins to fill the mountainside with this kind of heavy amber-colored incense. The Archdruid asks you to breathe in deeply of the incense and intones that your body alone cannot walk this path. You must strengthen the mind and spirit as well to protect your land and your clan. And as you breathe deeply into this incense, it is thick and almost choking, but you find yourself kind of light and airy, and as you close your eyes, you open them, no longer on the mountain, but instead standing in kind of a barren field, as light breeze blows across you, picking up little dust devils and spinning them. You kind of walk along it, and until you find in the center of the field is a full-size stone statue that resembles you. In fact, it looks like you. And at the feet of the statue, you see just a small amount of grass just poking up above the ground. And as you approach it, you kind of feel a power pulsing from the effigy in your hands. Begins to match kind of the same pulsing in your own temple as it grows as you approach this.
So I still have the effigy in my hand as I approach the statue, right?
Yeah.
How is the statue standing there? Does it have his hands towards me, or is it just, motionless with the hands by its side? Or
by its nature, statues are motionless.
No, like, is it in a sorry? You're saying that, but then it's a trap and it starts moving. We all know that. So, now, does it have its hands open towards me, or is it, standing?
It doesn't have its hands open in like a beggar's pose, right? If that's what you're asking. It's standing naturally with kind of its hands outspread to this field around it.
I have nothing on me. I'm just wearing that white cloak, right?
Correct. And you are holding the effigy.
I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the effigy. Wait, it is a bowl, you said?
Yes, it's like it's woven grass in a small kind of bowl, as if it was meant to hold something.
Right. And there's just grass on the ground.
It's mostly a barren field you find yourself in. Just at the very feet of this statue, you see just a little bit of grass beginning to poke its way through the dirt, but only in the area around its feet. For the most part, you find yourself kind of in a barren field with nothing but the statue in front of you.
Is it possible to use my hands to dig out the patches of grass?
Yes. Yeah, you bend down with your hands and begin to kind of dig away at the dirt around the grass that is just barely beginning to grow. You gently uncover the roots underneath it and eventually get a nice patch of grass in your hands. Just the baby growth of it, right, in the early spring.
So I'm going to, I'm taking this, I'm putting it into the bowl, right? And then I'm slowly going to, in circles that go wider and wider, I'm going to start walking around the field and just planting one tiny bit of grass after the other. Like it's gonna take quite a while. And when I'm done, I'm going to put the bowl back onto the ground, and I'm going to use my druid craft to make the grass sprout more, to return the field to
you begin
green.
Taking one little strand of grass and carefully keeping its roots intact and separating it from the rest of the patch, and you plant a little bit each stride you take in an ever-growing circle around. As you do this, you feel the kind of power of this effigy pulsing through you and through your temple, and as you go around and walk in circles around your statue, you look back and you see each place that you've planted it, a new kind of bed has sprouted, and the grass grows longer with each stride. Eventually, you've planted each and every strand that you had in your hands, and you set the bowl down and kind of cast your druid craft and allow your mind to travel through the effigy into the grass. And sure enough, the grass begins to grow and flourish, and in every area that you planted around the statue, the entirety of that circle that you walked grows lush with grass, about ankle high, healthy and green, and you feel kind of a contentedness grow inside of you as you do this, and you know that you've done well. The pulsing stops, but you feel like the smiles of your ancestors and of the land kind of sprouting up around you. It feels very content and good. And as this feeling washes over you, the vision kind of drains away, and you are once again standing in front of the incense with the Archdruid. The members of the Circle of Grass come forward and give you a large sash, with their green to place around your robe, and they welcome you to come and join them in the chant, as each and every candidate then goes through this process, some choosing many different ones, and you are of course a part of this now as the Circle of Grassland. You take part in the chanting, and you, as the first to choose the effigy, replace it upon the altar at the next opportunity. This goes long into the night until each and every candidate kind of goes through. It seems that no one outright fails, although it's hard to tell what happens.
Did we see the one that climbed the mountain with us?
Yes.
Like the one we met with which circle is he joining?
He jerkles. Whoa. He joins the circle.
What?
No, none of that happens. He joins the circle of the moon.
Ooh. Right.
And you eventually are, once every candidate has gone through, most high-ranking druid of your circle takes the new candidates kind of into this cave on the other side of the peak. And begins to kind of teach you of your newfound powers. You had an extra cantrip, right? And he kind of he informs you your mind has been awakened, your spirit ready to get this extra power. And he helps those of you choose, which cantrip it is. He seems to have a working knowledge of each and every druid cantrip, although he cannot cast all of them himself. He's able to teach you the ones that you choose and help guide you along the process of informing it. He then goes and teaches each of you your circle magic. Each of you teaching you how to harness the ability of invisibility and passing without trace through calling upon the grassland. And this goes a long time for each candidate. It takes a little level of mastery. You have already been practicing with a lot of these and are kind of a savant when it comes to this, taking you very little time. But he asks you to help the others and teach them as you came to it so naturally. And this lasts long into the night until eventually the dawn comes and the ritual is entirely over. You have joined the circle of the grassland and are a full-fledged member of the Druidic Order.
Woo! Nice. I think if you paid attention during the ceremony, especially to the singing part, you would notice that it took Rose a few attempts to get the singing right, so she would also be slightly offbeat or use the wrong word, so because she was also the first one to join all the other people who knew how to sing. She's like, oh.
If JLR sees that, he would try to word them to her, he would, if he could pay attention to the words they were saying at all. I don't know what they're saying it in.
I like the idea of Janlar not speaking Druidic, just trying to mouth.
Oh, is it Druidic? Okay.
He's just mouthing sounds.
Yeah.
Memorizes all the syllables and parrots them back. No idea what he's saying, but he can sound like it.
That's so much.
All right. And so with the ritual complete, the druids kind of begin packing up in that day to kind of move on. The archdruids remind you that you could call upon them if need be for wisdom. They don't necessarily mention how, they just say that you can. Yeah, and they ask you to come again for next year's ritual if need be. Or if possible, if you can.
Yeah.
But they begin kind of letting the new candidates go about their way, begin, picking up this altar of 3 stones and stowing it in the cave, putting out the bed of coals, that kind of thing. And you're kind of left to your own devices. What do you guys do now that you've witnessed this ritual?
How do you feel, Rose?
Good, I think. I was a little worried, but I think this is good. Do you like the sash?
It's yes, it's stylish.
You think I should put my crown back on? I take the little, the little woven crown back and put it on my. So now I feel like I have the cloak, I have a sash, and I have a little. I'm like,
You're very, very grassland.
Yes, I look like full-on grassland now, and that's fine. Now I just need the armor back. Oh, actually, that is true. I gotta go back and have a look at the armor. Yeah. Weren't they fascinating? Did you see all the different druids? There are never that many in a place. That was quite the experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I suppose congregations can be a time for that sort of thing. I guess I'm not too... It doesn't seem like that much of a deal to me because all the clerics tend to congregate in the temples back in Sarmanath. So it's not too unusual of an experience on my end.
Well, it must have been It must have been an experience the first time you had that, though, right?
That's true. I grew up there, though, so I guess you tend to forget those memories after a while.
I guess. Is there a great meeting of the wizards? Chandler, is that a thing?
No. Most wizards. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe so, at least. But no. Most wizards are fairly solitary and keep to themselves.
I guess the library is kind of a congregation of wizards, isn't
A
In
bit.
spirit.
it? Hmm.
The Seekers might be the closest thing you have.
Yeah. Probably. Shall we go back to and I'll look at hold the phone. What was his name again? Oh. Mel, help me out.
Goric?
Goric. Oh my god, Goric. Right. I've written down that name 3 times so far. You're right. I look at Goric and I'm like, you're protecting us, right? So you're coming with us?
Yes, I will accompany you where you go. I am not certain how long I am meant to spend with you, but I shall tag along, as it were, until I sense my presence is no longer required. Or you wish me to go and face your trials yourselves.
Well, we could certainly use the company. We need to get back up to fighting force.
Yeah.
Anyways, should we return to Sarmanath? Is there anything else you needed to do here, Rose?
Sandbar jumps in. He's like, I'm ready to go back to Sarmanath.
he's so ready. He's so ready.
Does he feel any better after my counseling, Greg?
We'll ask Millman whether or not
Alright.
he feels better. But he seems to. Whether or not he's faking it, you can't tell.
Mm-hmm.
So this congregation is like a once a yearly thing, and afterwards they all scatter across the lands again,
This
right?
particular ritual is once a year. Yes, there are occasional meetings of the druids, but those are amongst the circles themselves, and those are usually. Druids has a very high, like, rigid hierarchy, right? So those right above you will call you if needed, right? You don't necessarily know the plans of the archdruids as a
Right. So if
initiate.
they were to ever need me, they would call upon me anyways and be like,
Yeah.
"We have this task for you."
Basically,
Okay.
as a low level candidate, you are asked to come to this ritual the next year if you are able. And as you grow in the druidic circle, then more responsibilities will be yours.
What year is it in game, Greg?
We've not given a number to the year yet.
Okay.
It is
Alright.
1,000. It is roughly 1,000 years since the awakening. That's the only year I've
Okay.
given to anything.
Well, congratulations, y'all. We just attended Woodstock, whatever year it is.
I guess I should probably decide on a hard calendar if that's important to y'all.
Well, if you're like, oh, it's got the ritual is coming up in about 2 weeks. As long as you keep track of those things, that's all good. But I don't need like a fixed calendar for that.
I keep track of time passed in the game.
Yeah,
I
think
have
that's good
I
enough.
have a page here where I mark the time passed, but I tend to play loosey-goosey with time if I need to. But if you guys want it to be a hard and fast thing, then I can get a calendar and mock it up.
I'm okay with how it is. I have no.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't need a exact.
All right.
So is
So
our plan to return to Sarmanath then?
I think so.
it seems like it. The 5 of you begin descending down the peaks themselves. The druids themselves, you kind of are all moving as a pack. You're not all necessarily traveling together, but people are beginning their descent down the mountain throughout the day, and you can follow down with them. You once again make your way down past the abode of the Goliaths, if you wanted to stop there, and the creatures of the mountain seem to stay away from you. You don't notice any new elementals rumbling around, and you are able to make your trek down to Sarmanath fairly easily. You begin as you approach the town central. There's a kind of just like a long road that leads into town, and the druids are walking either into town or off into the wilderness. There's some travelers that make their way in and out of town, either traveling down into Colvier or across to Hawks Hollow. You've kind of reached this road, and sitting on the road is just kind of a caravan that has stopped off to the side, and there's some barrels just sitting out, and a young woman just plainly dressed, very few discernible features. Dark hair, dark eyes, but nothing that stands out too much. She's kind of watching you as you approach, and as you get near, she kind of calls out and says, "Hey, aren't you the ones that traveled with Villith? Am I not needed after all?"
Huh? I'm a bit confused.
"Oh, Villith was looking for me. I'm pretty sure you were her companions."
Villith is not looking for anyone anymore. She's dead.
Pull out the tiefling.
"I see that I'm not needed after all, then. Okay. I see you've met up with the one that was looking for you." She kind of gives an eye towards Goric. Good. I thought maybe I would have to warn you, but he made its way to the mountain. Well, if I'm not needed, I have a auction to break up. I will see you all.
This is the seeker lady, right? The leader of the... I was like, who the shit is this person? I don't remember Villith looking for anyone.
You may deduce that, yes.
Yeah. Well, Goric wouldn't know because he's not a seeker, but Michael, the player...
We've seen her at the ceremony as well, but I think she's so plain looking and so good at it that we might even not recognize her, even though we've met her before. You know, it's like,
She's got
do we know this woman? Yeah.
With that, she kind of nods, says, "Well, I have an auction to break up then. Good to see that you have all met. Until we meet again." And just jumps off her barrel that she was sitting on and begins walking back into town.
What a strange person.
She didn't even introduce herself.
That's rather rude, you know?
I'll look into my little etiquette book, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it is. Let me... Yes, it is, I say, pointing at the little bar that says it's rude.
It says right here, must introduce yourself.
I mean, we could have asked their name. I feel like we haven't done a great job of that as a group.
That's true. Don't blame us. What are you doing, Janlar?
I have like so many people in my notes, just description of them. We don't have the name here, and the druid we found on the way up here, and
you don't ask a lot of names. You as a party are not name oriented.
We don't do a very good job of it.
Best party for a DM who doesn't have to realize they haven't named this NPC and scramble for a name.
Like, hey, what was this guy's name again? Oh, it was Timothy. Yeah.
George.
Timothy the
Later.
Fifth.
Oh yeah, you mean John? Yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
And with that, you make your way into town with the hustle and the bustle of Sarmanath once again reaching your ears. Excuse me. What do you guys do as you've made your way back into Sarmanath?
How long in total have we been gone?
You spent about a week outside of Sarmanath because you spent days up on the peak of the mountain with the druids.
Mm-hmm. So I think I will have to wait for another week until my armor is finished. I think you said 2 weeks, if I'm not wrong.
That is correct.
We can wait that long. That's fine.
Yeah.
I would do a couple things real quick. One thing I want to do is there like a town register or like a place I could find a list of like landowners in town?
A list of landowners in town. What
I
are
don't
you
know.
looking for specifically?
I'm looking for this half-elf Scarlet that I have no location for.
You're looking for Scarlet.
Yeah. I'm assuming that if he can send her messages, that she's a place that she lives.
I don't think that that Sarmanath is. I feel like registered landowners is a very modern concept.
Yeah, I
don't think that you're gonna be able to go to City Hall and find the county listing of property owners. However, you
your census data.
yeah, exactly. I feel like you're probably just going to spend some time searching around town for her. How would you go about doing that? Are you just going to ambush random people on the street and talk to them, or how are you going to go?
No, that's fine. I was trying to kind of find like some kind of a government official who might,
a tax collector, perhaps.
yeah, like a tax collector, or someone who knows who has money and who owns land.
Sure. Go ahead and give me a investigation charisma roll as you are attempting to locate a tax.
Investigation charisma.
Yes. You're using your personality to investigate the town and find. You've gone to find a tax collector to give you the information that you need.
Investigation is normally wisdom, so I am proficient in it, but I have a minus one. So plus one.
A 16. All right. So you spend some time walking around, talking with local business owners, maybe meeting with your seeker contacts. You find yourself a nice tax collector, and you are able to mostly get on his good side. And he tells you, it's Scarlet, from the Coldwater area, you say. Well, I do believe I know a Scarlet from Coldwater. She's a merchant, you see, not part of the Mercers. She's gone into business on her own. Seems she works in spell components. I've often wondered if she has the licenses that she needs, but I collect the tax. I don't enforce those things. I leave that to the guilds themselves.
And sorry, did you say a place where I could find her? Is that what you?
Yes. She's a merchant. You can find her on the eastern quarter of the merchants' quarter, the eastern quadrant of the merchants' quarter. Excuse me, I get my terms mixed up. If you look for Scarlet's shop, you will find her. She's one of these spell component salesmen.
All right, perfect.
Can I ask you why you're looking for Scarlet?
A friend of mine told me to find her here.
Oh, well then. Excellent. I'm glad I could be of service. Make sure you report your income correctly. All right.
Greg, your accountant is showing.
Well, you found a tax collector. What can I say? All right, and so you've found your Scarlet. You going to meet her?
Not yet, because I think I still have a couple more. At least.
Is this a budding romance story that I'm unaware of? I feel like there's a lot of looking and yearning going on. I'm rooting for this.
No, I'm gonna wait until I think Garrick will have actually sent a letter to her to go and find her.
Okay. Perfect. Janlar is spending some time in Sarmanath, doing some reconnaissance on Scarlet. What are the rest of you doing as you've arrived in town here?
I guess I'll go report our success to Lionstalker.
Ah, excellent. Yes. You make your way to the Seekers Guild, and Lionstalker is in the middle of some ministrations at the kind of little makeshift temple. You wait for some period of time for him to give his oratory on the benefits of excuse me, of the justice of the river. And eventually he makes his way over to you, seeing you waiting patiently for him, and says, "Ah, my favorite new seeker of the year. What is up?"
Not much. What is up with you, man?
I'm
Those is in the back taking notes. What is up with you, man?
Well, I'm just doing my normal duties here. I have to lead the flock, you know.
Oh yes.
Just
Anyways,
So, have you
we,
anything to report? Please give me all the juicy details.
yes, there was a we found the elementals congregating in a cave as we went up the mountains. There were these some strange mud golems that were eating the rock, and everything seemed to be congregating to this bit of rift magic in the center. This circle. Yes.
They were congregating to it.
Yes,
Perhaps
that
feeding
was
off of it, you'd
the
say?
impression that it gave me. Sorry?
Perhaps feeding off it, you say. They were eating the rocks. Maybe the magic
Yes,
was in it.
Yeah, I imagine they were growing from the process. There was one very large golem inside of a rift circle. It was bizarre. A series of runes on the ground that seemed to be containing it.
Oh, how very interesting.
Yes, we destroyed the golem, and then we destroyed the runes on the ground, and the rift magic vanished upon its destruction.
Excellent.
Is
Excellent.
Chandler here for this?
If you'd like to.
Huh?
Oh yeah, then I'd say it almost seemed as if the magic circle was creating new elementals.
Yes, there were rocks. After we shattered the golem, the rocks were swirling around and coming together. I imagine it would have rebuilt if we hadn't stopped it.
How very interesting. Rift magic contained in a magic circle, you say? I've actually heard of this. A bit older than you whippersnappers, if you could believe it. I mean, I do keep myself up well. Anyway, I have
You don't
heard-
look a day over 25.
Flattery will get you everywhere. Anyway, I have heard of this before. There's in the old tellings, powerful wizards of the Cabal were able to control rift magic, contain it for some time. I don't know if they were perhaps containing it to get rid of it later, or if they were using it to farm magic. I have heard that the old Cabal used to be able to gather rift magic in small trinkets, gemstones, baubles. They used magic circles to try to control the rifts before they were all closed. I wonder if perhaps you've stumbled into something out of a fairy tale.
Well, perhaps we have, but it's gone now.
Good. Rifts are dangerous, the magic they contain doubly so. Shame we could not study it, but I believe you have done admirably on Lightbringer.
Dan, are you deliberately not mentioning the note that you read, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it is truly a shame that Bridges got her womanly hands in you. You would have made a fine cleric of Feyam. You deserve some rewards, yes? You've taken care of the druid's problems. Come with me. I will get you what you are owed. And he walks his way into like a vestal and produces a lockbox. And inside of it, you see 4 bowls. That are just made of like petrified wood and are inscribed with druidic symbols. And he says, "Here you are, magic food rations, they say. Allow me to demonstrate." And he picks up just like a wooden spoon from somewhere else. It's not part of the set. And he runs the spoon around the rim of the bowl and chants the command word in Druidic surprisingly accurately, Faye. He seems he has a good control of the language. And he commands it, "Fill." And as the bowl rims, a light soup begins to rise up magically in the bowl until it is brimming and full. It says, "Here you are. It seems these rations will keep you full for quite a while. I don't know how long they last. Maybe it's permanent. Seems unlikely. The druids very rarely would give out such powerful magic to just anyone, but should keep
I suppose
you
we'll
for some
find
time.
out.
Yes.
I drink a little bit of soup. What does it taste like?
It tastes like a weak root soup. like from a beetroot or a celery root, vegetable root. It's not particularly pungent. It's almost flavorless except for this like just very light root flavor.
Borscht.
Probably a little too strong.
I don't think Gorik is with them as they're turning in their quest. He's probably off doing something in the city.
What are you doing?
Or maybe waiting downstairs.
Gorik just like does the grandpa thing, sits in a chair in the corner.
Yeah. Falls asleep on the bench, waiting for them to come back down.
Excellent. So, what are you off to now, young Lightbringer?
We haven't figured out our next step yet. I think we're going to be waiting in town for a while. Rose has a commission that she's waiting on.
Ah, what did you commission, young lady?
We've had a few casualties lately, so you know.
Ah, unfortunate. I did hear of Gormak. I had good fun with him at the feast. It is a shame that he could not try once again to outduel me in the feasting.
He was very strong.
Yes, I mourn Gormak's passing. We also lost Villith in this most recent expedition.
Oh, well, terrible luck that. It is strange. 5
Yes,
is a very powerful number magically. Perhaps you have gotten the worst end of the luck on that draw. I've not heard of a curse of 5s in some time, but a curse of 5s is very powerful. If you have found yourself at the wrong end of one, I suggest intense prayer.
We've picked up someone who seems to believe that we've snagged some sort of curse of death.
Oh.
Yes, he's been following us for some time. I believe he intends to protect us.
Well, that is...
Though to be honest, he's rather aged himself. I wonder if we're the ones who are supposed to be protecting him from death.
The camera just cuts to Gorik sleeping on the bench. Just
Maybe we should bring him some soup.
He might appreciate that.
Well, the elderly do appreciate soup in my experience.
Have you ever heard of Ungral?
Oh, yes, I have. There have been a few dwarves have come through my halls. Dwarven god Ungral. Death. They're all builders, the dwarves. That's an old god from the halls. Not many still worship the gods of the halls. Not many are from the halls. The dwarves, as you know well, have traveled throughout the toplands? I don't know. What do we call this? The surface! I've had a bit of the sacramental wine! Anyway.
Topland.
Anyway, yes.
I like it.
They travel across the toplands for a while. Many have adopted the surface gods, but those of the dwarven halls still have loyalty to Ungral, among others. He is a god of knowledge, if I remember, of ancestry. Also, I suppose of death, yes, although I haven't seen someone worship that aspect of him before, but that could simply be because there are not many of the halls that come our way.
Interesting. I'll see if I can do some more reading on this god.
Yes, there's a good library here in the Seeker's Hall. There are many books of the old dwarves. A young man was looking through them the other day. What was his name? A seeker, yes. Algernon, I believe, was his name.
Algernon.
He found a book of good interest, he said. Left it for someone. In their room. I don't know much about him. He's going on a quest and leaving, and he talked to me about it, but I don't remember.
Has he left already?
I believe so, yes.
Oh. Well, I hope he has safe travels. He is very nice. It's sad that you missed him.
He seems like a nice person. A bit of a... look, I'm not trying to cast disparagements here. I will hold my tongue. No Lightbringer.
You flatter me far too much. Well,
I nodded. I'm like...
let's see if I can live up to your words. Anyways, I should go do some reading. I think we've earned our rest at this point anyways.
I'm gonna go see if there's any wine left after service.
Oh, actually, never mind. Let's go see if there is.
Yes, come join me.
Tom walks
I-
up.
I guess I'm going to the library. I'm gonna look for the. I'll see you later. I'll make my way. I guess that's.
Chandler looks at
Yes.
Rose going to the library, and then back at Tom going for the wine, and falls into the library after some deliberation.
Oh, you're like, oh, yeah. Very good. Oh, nice.
You make your way to the kind of central area of the Seeker's Tower, and sure enough, you find the Great Library. When you arrive, the keeper of the library, Arakoa, draped in like tan robes, kind of sees you approach, Rose, and recognizes you as Algernon's friend. Kind of motions you over and says, Algernon stumbled upon something that he thought might interest you. I left it in your room, I believe, waiting for your return.
Oh, Linestock. Was it Line?
Yes, he
Yes,
spoke
he
with
said that-
Linestalker as well.
You said that he left something.
Yes, you know, he has left for the Great Library, just on the island near Colvier. He said that he thinks he's found something relating to his own personal quest, and couldn't wait to meet you himself. Hopefully he returns. And he did return from the Gloomwood with a new seeker in tow the last time he left, so good luck
Yeah.
for him.
He's a very smart person, just not very wise sometimes, you know.
Yes, yes. Well, anyway, I have delivered my message. Please come to me if you need help in the library.
Thank you. I guess, yeah. And I'm going to look for, to save time, I'm going to look for a book about the dwarven god of death and knowledge and all these things.
Sure, yeah. Fairly easy to find. Algernon has taught you a fair bit about the library and where to find things in it. You find a section of
He instructed her on the Dewey Decimal
on the
System.
Dewey Decimal System, yes. It's very new in Sarmanath, but it seems to be all the rage amongst the scholars. And you come across the section on dwarven literature from the Great Halls before the Diaspora, and can find a book of describing the deities amongst them, and are able to find mentions of Ungral.
Do you think Gorik is that old? You think he's still back from the time when people still worshipped Ooh. What was the name? The dwarven god of death? I'm terrible with names today. I'm sorry. I'm just blanking.
I didn't
on
know
the...
if you were like role playing that or if you didn't know.
It's like, that's the part of Rose that's actually me.
Ungral.
Ungral. Oh my god, you guys are killing me. Yes. So, do you think he is from back then? He seems pretty old. Daniel's still around, right? Or am I like, I'm just talking to myself and Chandler has already left. I'm like, Chandler?
Oh, your mic's not working, Dan.
No, sorry, I was trying to read something through my notes earlier. What were you saying? I apologize.
I think that actually happens in character.
Yes.
Like Janlar's deeply engrossed in reading, and you say all that, and he looks at you like, oh, wait, were you saying something, Rose?
Do you think that Gorik is from back in the day when the dwarves still worshipped, Umgral, like more of them? He seems pretty old, right?
He seems pretty old, but to my knowledge, dwarves only live a few hundred years. Isn't that thousands of years ago that they would have lived in the halls?
But why would you worship a god that barely anyone still worships to this day, and that's really old?
He said his god spoke to him. Maybe the god spoke to him, and that's what set him down his path.
Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. So the gods speak to their clerics? All of them?
I couldn't tell you. We might have to ask Tom about that. Has he been graced by his god?
I guess I will have to ask him. I think he's getting drunk right now, so maybe right now is not the best. Ask him. Maybe I'll ask him later. Yeah, later is good.
I love our alcoholic cleric.
Just
Like how it's
got
in
it.
Lion Stalker as well. Like it's just it's a thing that clerics like they drink a little bit too much of the wine from their ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
Just as the god of agriculture, rebirth, and beer pong.
Beer. Yes, I like it. And yeah, I guess that's all I'm looking for in the library. And I'll say, I'll have a look at what my friend left behind for me.
You return to your abode in the tower and find yourself wrapped in a brown parcel. A note. There's a brown parcel, and wrapped with the string and the twine around it is a note from Algernon. It says, "Rose, I found something that I know that you would like. It's a book that's about a god named Dworkin. Very old god, one of the first dwarfs, but it mentions the making of a unbreakable chain and the binding of a chained lord. You asked me to look into it, so anyway, a bit of history. It is in an ancient dwarven dialect, might be hard to read, but I have to go. The Silent Library has reappeared. There's reports of it outside Colvir, and I'm close to finding my formula, so I must go. Hopefully I will see you sometime soon, but enjoy the book. Also, there's a new book I found on etiquette. I've wrapped in here as well. This one not so important, but I know you like etiquette. It's called Romance and Dalliances in the Old Court. It was just sitting there gathering dust. I don't think anyone has opened it in years. Anyway, hope you enjoy. Bye.
I like to imagine the awkwardness of that came through in the letter. Like
Yes.
that's just how you naturally.
It's like PS, PPS, PPS. It's just like it keeps getting on. Oh, by the way, yeah, very good. In here, very good. I love it. And I take the little etiquette book and I like put it to my chest, and you know I just really hope that Algernon is doing fine. I don't have that many friends or something I can call close to a friend, so I hope he's doing okay, because that sounds pretty dangerous, whatever he's looking for. So, yeah.
Can I take a few seconds while we're in the library to look for books on are there any books on past Janlars?
Yes. There's a long history of Janlars. The problem you're going to find is that Janlar is both a common name for commoners. Not like super duper duper common, but is something you would call someone just born. And there is the Roll Janlar, the dragon of Sarmanath. And there's a long, like, once one dies or abdicates, a new Janlar rises. But yes, there are plenty of books on the history of Janlars.
Yeah, that might be a
And the
little more
dragons of
difficult.
Sarmanath.
Many results.
I might need to start with someone else. How about Cabal? Are there any? Can I look up for books on a dude named Cabal?
A dude named Cabal. A Cabal is also a term for a group or an organization.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Of specifically arcanists, just to help you out there.
Okay.
Yes, you spend some time in the library, and you do find mentions of the old Cabal. It is mentioned many times as kind of like not history. You find it as like almost as Lionstalker said, fairy tale. Is the tellings of the end of the War of Kor and the end of the awakening, the closing of the rifts. The heroes, many of whom are unnamed, but led by a few, including the great wizard Janlar, formed what was known as the Cabal. The Cabal were basically the heroes of the day, and through their efforts were able to close the rifts and end the war with Kor. So you find lots of kind of not histories of what they've done and who they are, but like references to them in song and poetry, and this kind of almost Arthurian legend of the Cabal.
All right. All right. Yeah, that's all I do for now then.
Alrighty. And I think we've kind of reached a decent stopping point here. Let's go ahead and take our break. When we come back on the other side, we'll find what the party does as they reconvene and decide to go forth with for the rest of their adventure. We'll be back in about 5-ish minutes. I hope to see you then. We will be back soon.